Good evening and welcome to Politics Nation. Tonight's lead, rope-a-dope. Like any fighter getting licked by a superior opponent, President Trump staggered to his corner Friday on the other side of the world after a week of trading shots with House Speaker Nancy Pelosi. The president is in Japan on state business, and his nemesis is girding for the impeachment fight. More and more Democrats and at least one Republican are raring to have. In the meantime, the speaker seems set on a strategy: engage, embarrass, and repeat, goading the commander-in-chief over his intellect, his fortune, and that most sensitive topic, his manliness. Like the song says, folks, it takes a woman.
So I'm going to be very calm, because I don't want them going out to the press and saying that I was anything but calm. So I was extremely calm, very much like I am right now. And it was sad when I watched Nancy all moving, the movement and the hands and the craziness. And I watched it. That's, by the way, a person that's got some problems.
I pray for the President of the United States. I wish that his family or his administration or his staff would have an intervention for the good of the country.
Joining me now to help score this fight, Sophia Nelson, former House Government Reform and Oversight Republican Committee counsel and a contributor to Think on NBCNews.com. Dean Obadala, radio host and contributor to The Daily Beast. And Michael Hardy, Executive Vice President and General Counsel to the National Action Network. Let me go to you first, Sophia. It seems the president is always rattled when he locks horns with House Speaker Nancy Pelosi. Is it that he's intimidated by a strong, smart woman?
Come on, Reverend. Now, you know the answer to that question. Remember, during the presidential debates in 2016, he referred to Secretary of State Clinton as a nasty woman. He loves to denigrate women. This one's crazy, one's nasty. He's always got something to say. So, absolutely, President Donald Trump has never really liked to engage with women. And we can talk about low IQ. He called Omarosa a dog. He is not kind to women. And we all know what he said on that Entertainment Tonight tape. So having said that, I think that they are in a clash of wills. I think that Nancy Pelosi is winning because she comes across as being, it's almost like a mother to a child, for lack of a better analogy. It's like, you know, when you mess up and your mom sends you to your room and says, "I'm so disappointed in you," and nothing hurts worse. Well, that's kind of how she handles him. She says she's praying for him. She says he needs an intervention. And then, of course, he goes crazy and starts, you know, saying all kind of things at the White House and getting Kellyanne to back him up and Sarah Sanders. And then, of course, we know he doctored a video and put it out on Twitter, which is really bad. Attorney
Hardy, what should not be missed in this is that they were meeting about infrastructure, something that is needed. I travel a lot all over the country. Streets and bridges and tunnels and other parts of the infrastructure of this country is crumbling. And they were to meet to talk about a way that they, in a bipartisan way, could deal with the broken infrastructure of the country. This is serious, as well as it does provide jobs. He storms out in 3 minutes saying, in these investigations, from a legal perspective, what is he doing if he's telling them he will not move forward with legislation, not move forward with his duty as president unless they end investigating him?
Well, he's setting himself up, Rev. I mean, he's responding and Nancy is manipulating him because he's going into a meeting that really would benefit him in a lot of ways to really engage on the infrastructure question. More importantly, though, if he always is saying that why are these investigations going on, then he's really, in a way, further kind of putting the spotlight on the fact that maybe there was obstruction there, because he certainly has been obstructing with regard to the subpoenas that have been happening and to the directives that he's been giving some of his subordinates. And Nancy called him out on that, and it kind of ticked him off, particularly when she says maybe he is covering up, and he responded just the way she wanted him to.
Now, it seemed, Dean, that this was set up, his walkout. He had posters and things celebrating his achievements, even putting one in front of the presidential seal, something that we've never seen, where a president puts his own accomplishments over the seal of the presidency, which speaks a lot. Are we seeing this president begin to unravel? Because this seems like almost desperation.
Unravel? I mean, we just call it Thursday at this point. Like, all Trump does is unravel. His Twitter feed goes crazy. You talked about rope-a-dope earlier. All I could think is down goes Trump, down goes Trump, down goes Trump, because Nancy Pelosi was able to effectively troll him and trigger him to a point where not only was he upset, Trump world was upset. Fox News put out that edited video. Rudy Giuliani shared the doctored video. Sebastian Gorka made a bizarre video defending Donald Trump. All of them are triggered by him. And I think perhaps it's the history there that Nancy Pelosi has with Donald Trump. Trump has donated to the DCCC in 2006 when she was one of the leaders of it there. I think maybe he respected her. But secondly, I think part of this is that he could not deliver on infrastructure. He cannot get the Republicans to approve $2 trillion.
And that's what this is about.
So he could not do that. So he had to leave that meeting to save his face. So it was not about cover up. The Democrats were already investigating Trump, various committees. It's like he could not deliver. He did not want to be embarrassed by that. In fact, to remind people, the night before the meeting, he wanted to shift gears from infrastructure to the new NAFTA agreement because he knew he couldn't deliver. So this was just part of the charade. Oh, it's her. It's not her. It's him. He's a failure. He can't even lead the GOP, and that's what's going on right now.
And you're seeing, Sophia, the drumbeat get louder and louder. You even have one Republican now saying, let's move on to impeachment. As he makes these very bizarre and dramatic moves, impeachment seems to be more and more something that we hear resonating around the House. As much as Speaker Pelosi's been trying to say, let's go through the investigations, she had to even meet with her caucus to try and say, let's be strategic here.
Well, Reverend, now, I think there are two things that the Democrats have to do. One, I think the time has passed, frankly, for Mueller to testify in public. And I think that the House Judiciary Chairman and others have to be firm about that if and when he testifies, it's going to be in public before we, the people. That's number one. Number two, it's past time for impeachment hearings to start. Remember with Watergate, let's go back again in time. This was not something that was a fait accompli. The hearings had to start. The hearings began to move public opinion because the public became informed. Right now, all we do is have a bunch of misinformation being put out by the White House and the president. There's a bunch of fighting on social media about who's lying, who colluded, who didn't, who obstructed. The American people need things broken down for them because they're busy, they're working, they're trying to take care of their families. They don't have time to do what we all do 24/7. So I believe that if the hearings were to start and then people could actually get the information by watching the hearings in real time, I think that then shifts the responsibility to the Senate, that if the House does impeach, Reverend Al, the Republican senators, trust me, they like their reelection more than they do President Trump. And if public sentiment were to shift, and there was a shift there, I think then that's when you begin to see some movement, and then it's something that I think is viable. Right now it's not, but I think it can get there.
Attorney Hardy, when you see judges say that they're not going to allow his financial records not to be turned over, and when you see that there was a deal made today to stay until the appeals, but the exchange for that was an expedited court calendar, to the average person watching at home or wherever they are tonight, what are the legal implications of that for the president if there is something in these financial documents that now may be ordered by a judge to be released in an expedited calendar, since they're now expediting the calendar in terms of hearing this? What's at stake here legally for the president?
I think what's at stake is people, there may be something there. A lot of people want to see what's in those financial records of Donald Trump and what may be there for the Congress to further substantiate a reason to move towards impeachment.
Including if he was getting foreign monies from sources that may compromise some of his decisions as president.
That's exactly right. And others that have been dealing with him maybe as a result of them knowing that he is the president and benefits that they may receive as a result of patronizing his businesses. Some reports of the number of Republicans that have been using his facilities throughout his term. So I think that's a concern for him. And once that goes in, I think, as Sophia just said, if they move forward with these hearings and you have Mueller coming forward and you have others coming forward to give their testimony, that really begins to set the deadline and the movement towards a decision to impeach or not impeach.
Dean, when you quoted my opening about rope-a-dope, it reminds me when I was younger, the 74 Ali Foreman fight, where Ali, who used to dance a lot,
Sure.
Fighting as a boxer, just laid on the ropes and Foreman punched himself out, and then Ali knocked him out.
Right.
Is Nancy Pelosi laying back and letting him punch himself out with antics like he pulled at walking out in 3 minutes and having signs over the Rose Garden and in front of the presidential seal?
I think on some level she's letting him self-destruct, but she's helping it along the whole way. The idea of calling for intervention. Then yesterday, Trump saying to the reporters, you see how mean she was to me? The victimhood of Donald Trump is remarkable. And to people who are progressives or moderates, we would see it as a sign of weakness. But for some reason on the right, victimhood is a currency that actually works because many, not all, feel like they're victims, that somehow because of their race or their religion, they're being discriminated against in this country, not treated fairly on social media, and that works for Trump. And to quickly to impeachment, because my show is on the Progressive Channel, I talk to progressives, almost exclusively, but not exclusively, people want an impeachment inquiry to begin.
Right.
Not an up and down vote, not articles of impeachment.
Inquiry.
The same thing they did with Kenneth Starr. He delivered his report. A month later, they voted House Judiciary, the Republican control, to have an impeachment inquiry. Went for about 2 to 3 months. I think in our case, we need longer than that, maybe 4 or 5 months. In that, America will see the evidence. And Democrats at the end say, not enough here to draft articles of impeachment. I respect that. But I think they will, frankly. And I think that also gives time for the media to focus, America to focus, to be informed on what's in that report, obstruction, witness intimidation, and what Trump did by accepting help from Russia knowingly might not be a crime, but might be something that's impeachable nonetheless.
Well, I don't know if there'll be a family intervention, as the speaker suggested, but I can recommend the family at least get him a pacifier while he whines his victimization speech. More to come with Sophia, Dean, and Michael later in the show. Coming up in the ramp up in the 2020, Democratic candidates are increasingly courting the black voters. But instead of hopeful rhetoric, one contender is using hopeful policy to woo the constituency. That's after the break.